only anger once it's the only Jewish state in the entire world,
Why only
the
us?
entire globe, that suddenly it's
victims.
occupation? And also, can somebody enlighten me how we occupied the land that never had a prime minister, never had a government, never had a currency, never had one person with historical ties to the land called Palestine? I just can't wrap my head around this occupation narrative.
Well,
that doesn't exist.
let me see if I can help. So the reason why people aren't currently occupied about or currently outraged about Egypt occupying Gaza or Jordan occupying the West Bank or something like that is because it's been over since 1967. So, like, yeah, if you want to go back historically, there were bad things that were done by lots of groups of people. However, since then, it's been the Israelis doing the occupation. That's not a narrative. That's just a description of reality. And as far as your point about, like, you know, that there was never a currency or there was never an official state of Palestine, as I've said before, I just find this to be the most un-American, un-enlightenment way of looking at things. I mean, all you have to do is read the
just comparing
facts. It's not. No, it is completely irrelevant. And here's why it's irrelevant. Read the Declaration of Independence. That's all you need to do, and it will completely dispel you of that. The Declaration of Independence starts off right away.
Well, the Middle East is not America.
Hold on, let me just say this. Let me just.
No,
okay, fine, it's not, but these values transcend America. It's the idea of natural rights. Man is born free because these are God-given rights, and governments are just something we institute to protect our rights. And if the government isn't doing a good job of that, then the people have the right and maybe even the duty to overthrow that government. No offense, Pierce, you guys, you've had your wins too, but this one was ours. And so I'm just saying, no, listen, it doesn't matter whether they were dominated by the Ottomans or the British Empire or Jordan or Egypt before then. These are human beings who deserve natural rights, and they have absolutely no rights under Israeli rule and haven't since 1967 due to the Israelis.
The Palestinians actually have full rights in Israel, but okay.
Well, I tell you what,
yes,
Emily, on that point.
Palestinians in Palestine.
Well, hang on. Here's what I would say about that. It was very clear very soon after October the 7th when Israel was able to control food, energy, water, and things like that, and turn that tap of supply on and off, that actually Palestinians do not have the same free rights as Israelis. Otherwise, Israel wouldn't have had the ability to do that. Now,
but Israel, how much of the percentage of that, the water and electricity?
Israel would put up an argument about why they do that, but you can't dispute that was what they were able to do. Omar, there's some more details coming out about this. Well, Omar, I just want to bring you up to speed on the details coming out of this announcement. They're talking about a full and complete ceasefire, the release of hostages held by Hamas, the return of deceased hostages' remains, and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners. The plan includes 3 phases that would end with a multi-year reconstruction plan for Gaza, which has been largely destroyed due to the fighting. The second phase includes a permanent end to hostilities, as well as full withdrawal of Israeli forces from Gaza. This is according to a text of the US draft resolution. I mean, first of all, do you welcome the broad brushstrokes of that statement?
Certainly do, Piers. I want to address this directly, but I just have to go back to just one thing that Emily had said, because I think it's really, really important not to gloss over it. When we talk about Israel's occupation of the Palestinian territories, when you look at settler colonialism in the United States and the fact that Native Americans were pushed off of their land, nobody cares that Native Americans did not have an officially recognized government or what currency they had or this or that. These are people who are living on their land who are being pushed out by an occupying force, and that's all that matters. And what's unique about the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territories, particularly in the West Bank today, is the fact that it's settler colonial expansion. Palestinians are being systematically pushed out of their land and out of their homes, so Israel can build more and more settlements to take over Palestinian areas. And 80% of water in the West Bank is taken to be used by Israel and by the settlers. This is Palestinian water. Every Israeli policy, every inch of the West Bank that Israel takes over by force, every drop of water that Israel takes is a violation of international law. These are war crimes that Israel is committing. So to pretend to conflate all of that with whatever historical examples there have been of other occupations and not, you're missing the point that Israel is actively replacing Palestinians with Israelis.
But let's also,
as an effort to confine Palestinians
but let's also get to the point of this breaking news.
I also want to address that America did not give the land back.
Okay,
so
I want to move.
Let's move on.
Okay, but I want to talk about the.
You know what's the good news, guys? Israel, they're all fucking dumb. Thank God we found out. They sent this idiot. Well, we didn't give the land to the native Indians. Yeah, the native Indians were running around naked chasing buffaloes. Palestine, you had metropolises, you had museum, you had colleges, you had universities. It's a different motherfucking day. Wake up.
Listen, you've all had a good chance to talk. I want to talk about specifically this proposal and whether you think this is the kind of framework we need now to get to peace, and whether you believe that anyone affiliated to Hamas can have any role in any kind of government in Gaza going forward.
Of course.
Sure. Starting with the ceasefire, I think it's quite obvious and inevitable that a ceasefire is going to be the only way out of the mess that we're currently in, unless people are happy to just sit back and watch a genocide unfold for year after year. And the only problem right now with a ceasefire is whether there is a question about whether we're going to move from a temporary one to a permanent one, and what that negotiation in between entails. And the problem is that Prime Minister Netanyahu has made it absolutely clear that there will not be a permanent ceasefire until Hamas is completely defeated. So he's insisting effectively that there's not going to be a ceasefire because he can't defeat Hamas militarily, and so the slaughter is going to continue indefinitely. So to the extent that the international community and the United States can apply meaningful pressure on Israel, and Netanyahu in particular, to say knock off this delusional fantasy that you're going to have an epic win beyond the fact that you've completely destroyed the Gaza Strip and killed 40,000 people, enough is enough. It's time to put an end to this onslaught and just have an exchange of prisoners as hostages and move on with life. As for the question about Hamas, whether Hamas can have a role in the future, whether Netanyahu can, I don't think that's a particularly important question. I think Israelis can sort out who leads them. People in Gaza can figure that out. What's important for us as a third party sitting on the outside, be it the United States or the rest of the international community, is to say that support for foreign military occupation should not continue. It is not our role to decide who rules Palestinians or who rules Israelis or who's in the government and who's not. It is our role to say that as long as Israel continues occupying Palestinian land, besieging Palestinians, denying them their most basic and fundamental rights, Israel should not receive another penny of U.S. from the United States in military funding, and not another veto and all this unconditional diplomatic support that the U.S. provides for Israel to do whatever it wants, violate international law left and right without any consequence.
Conversely, what about all the money that Hamas has been receiving, billions of dollars, a lot of it via Israel, presumably by the same yardstick, you would like to see zero funding going into Hamas?
Unquestionably. Unquestionably, human rights organizations have been absolutely clear about the fact that nobody should be sending weapons either to Hamas or to Israel, and I agree with that entirely. Fortunately, I live in a country that does not supply Hamas, so it's very easy for me to say stop U.S. funding for Hamas because it doesn't exist in the first place. What does exist is U.S. funding for the Israeli government and the monstrous atrocities that they are committing day in and day out, and that's what we need to have change. And once that changes, once Israel no longer enjoys this impunity that the U.S. gives them, they will find themselves in a position where they have to negotiate in good faith and to recognize that Palestinians are an equal human being who have to get their fundamental rights, that they are entitled to every inch of independence and dignity and basic human rights that Israelis enjoy. Until Israel treats Palestinians differently, we're not going to have an end to this conflict, and that's what needs to change.
Thank you all very much. That was a great debate. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, it was. That was perfect, right? Oh, who's here? Oh, sorry, I didn't see who's there. Hello, what's up? What's up? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention to the. I had it on full screen. Not all natives were uncivilized. Yeah, Terry Stenger. No, the idea. What I'm saying is that you can't compare the Palestinians to the native Indians. The native Indians did not believe in property. They didn't know what ownership of property meant. The native Indians were free moving people, like spiritually free. Is that what I'm trying to say here? So when they were buying Manhattan from them, they were laughing. It's like, what are you buying? What is this thing that people could buy land? So native Indians had no understanding of private property. They had an idea where they could hunt, that nobody should bother with their hunting ground. But the idea, they had no sense. But if you go to 1948 Palestine, they had cities, they had the metropolises, they had mayors, they had union leaders. I mean, there was a people living in there. And Jews were living there alongside of Jews, native Arab Jews, and native Christians were living there. And it was a harmonic way of living at that time. Until the East European Jews came in from Europe, and shit started changing. Sorry, did not hear you. Palestine can't catch a break. Anybody want some? Who's this? Terry Strange. I apologize. I did not see your writing. My fault. You know, I'm a bit under the weather. Not all natives deserve land. You understand? It is what it is. Are you still here? If you're still here, right here. All right. So I wanted to show you just the thinking of. I'm going to explain it to you because sometimes, you know, you have to be careful what you say. There's two groups in the United States that you cannot two groups in the United States that you cannot say things. If you say something, it sounds right. If you say LBGT, you got to turn around. If you say the word Jewish, you have to turn around as if you're saying something wrong and you're not. This is I hope this is okay. There you go. This is Morning Joe. Okay, let me show you the whole thing so I will know. Where am I? Where are you, Omar? All right. This is Morning Joe, early in the morning. Morning Joe has become what Fox and Friend was to Donald Trump. Remember they used to make fun of Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Oh, look at him! He listens to Fox News all day. Now this is Johnny Dutch. He was there, and remember when they had this thing where when Elon Omar said it's about the Benjamin, where American Jews, if you tell them, well, listen, do you have Israeli citizens? How could you question our loyalty? This is an anti-Semitism trope. Everything you say is a fucking trope.